They've topped the charts, sold out stadiums, and created the songs we still know by heart. These music stars shaped entire generations with their voices and unforgettable performances. But now it's 2025, and their looks have changed just as much as their careers. Can you still recognize them today? You'll have 5 seconds to guess each one before we reveal the iconic artist behind the music. Get ready to rewind music history and then versus now. Jann Arden rose to prominence as a Canadian solo artist with her witty personality and heartfelt love songs in the 90s. At 63 in 2025, she lives quietly while producing albums sporadically for dedicated fans worldwide. Holly Brooke, later Skylar Grey, gained attention as a soulful solo singer-songwriter in the mid-2000s music scene. At 39 in 2025, she writes for other artists and rarely performs under her own name anymore. Heather Small impressed audiences with her commanding voice, transitioning to a solo career after success with M People. At 61 in 2025, she mentors vocalists and performs occasionally at nostalgic dance music events. Geri Halliwell successfully launched her solo career after the Spice Girls with bold pop songs and charismatic stage presence. At 53 in 2025, she focuses on writing children's books and occasionally appears at nostalgic pop events. Fiona Apple's raw lyrics and unconventional style made her a critically acclaimed solo artist of the late 90s alternative scene. At 48 in 2025, she prefers privacy, occasionally releasing music but rarely appearing on stage. Erykah Badu's unique blend of R&B and neo-soul made her a defining solo voice in late 90s music culture. At 54 in 2025, she releases occasional independent projects while dedicating time to visual arts and activism. Emilia Rydberg gained international fame with her heartfelt debut single, making her a recognizable solo voice of the late 90s. At 47 in 2025, she balances raising her children with occasional songwriting for Swedish pop acts. David Gray's emotional songwriting and acoustic guitar sound made him a global solo sensation during the late 90s pop folk revival. At 56 in 2025, he releases music independently and spends most of his time teaching songwriting. Shaylee Wright's heartfelt country ballads made her a successful solo artist and a respected figure in the Nashville community. At 54 in 2025, she advocates for LGBTQ+ rights while releasing occasional albums. Colby Calais' breezy acoustic pop sound and warm image made her a breakout solo star in the late 2000s. At 39 in 2025, she manages a wellness brand while releasing music occasionally. Beverly Knight's strong R&B vocals and stage charisma made her a leading British solo artist during the late 90s music scene. At 52 in 2025, she focuses mainly on acting roles and occasional live performances across the UK. Billie Meyer's soulful vocals and introspective lyrics made her a notable solo artist in the late 90s pop scene. At 54 in 2025, she advocates for mental health awareness while releasing occasional singles independently. Chantal Kreviazuk became known for her introspective piano pop songs and distinctive voice during the late 90s. At 50 in 2025, she focuses on humanitarian efforts and songwriting for film soundtracks. Charlotte Martin's piano-driven pop style and emotional songwriting earned her a devoted fanbase in the early 2000s. At 48 in 2025, She works as a vocal coach and releases singles for her followers. Anastasia's raspy powerhouse vocals and confident stage presence made her an international solo pop star during the early 2000s. At 56 in 2025, she appears mostly at nostalgic festivals and collaborates with European producers occasionally. Ongun captivated listeners worldwide with her unique sound and international appeal, becoming one of Asia's most famous solo exports. At 51 in 2025, she performs occasionally and focuses on environmental and humanitarian activism. Anna Nalik's debut single became a radio staple, launching her career as a promising solo artist in the mid-2000s. At 41 in 2025, she releases independent music and enjoys a quieter life out of the spotlight. Bethany Joy Lenz gained a following for her heartfelt pop music while starring on One Tree Hill in the early 2000s. At 44 in 2025, she releases independent EPs and runs a non-profit for single mothers. Amy Mann's introspective lyrics and indie pop sound made her a critical favorite in the 90s solo music world. At 65 in 2025, she records albums quietly and mentors other artists at songwriting retreats. Amanda Ghost gained recognition with moody solo pop songs, later becoming a songwriter for major stars and labels. At 51 in 2025, she leads a music company and supports independent artists behind the scenes. Amanda Marshall's powerful voice and rock-influenced pop songs made her a household name in Canada and beyond during the 90s. At 53 in 2025, she appears only occasionally at music events, focusing mainly on songwriting for film and TV. Sean Hope gained modest fame with melodic pop songs and live piano performances, standing out as a Canadian solo artist. At 41 in 2025, he writes and produces music for television rather than pursuing mainstream fame. Sarah McLachlan's emotive ballads and angelic vocals made her a beloved solo singer-songwriter during the 90s adult contemporary era. At 57 in 2025, she dedicates most of her time to charity work and mentoring Canadian musicians. Sandy Tom's folk-inspired single gained international success and made her a known solo voice in the mid-2000s. At 43 in 2025, she writes songs for other artists and enjoys a quiet life in Scotland. Samantha Fox transitioned from model to pop star, becoming a recognizable solo performer with her bold personality and catchy hits. At 58 in 2025, she enjoys a quiet life and only performs at nostalgic 90s-themed concerts. Samantha Cole's emotional ballads and pop sensibility made her a rising star in the late 90s solo scene. At 47 in 2025, she lives quietly while occasionally writing songs for other artists behind the scenes. Ricky Martin dominated the late 90s and early 2000s with his energetic Latin pop hits as a solo performer. At 53 in 2025, he performs limited tours and devotes time to philanthropic efforts for children's welfare. Rachel Yamagata's sultry voice and confessional songwriting gave her a devoted following in the early 2000s indie pop world. At 47 in 2025, she works as a producer and plays occasional shows in the US. Poe's atmospheric alternative pop sound and innovative production earned her a cult following in the early 2000s. At 57 in 2025, she lives largely outside the spotlight and works quietly on multimedia art projects. Paula Abdul was one of the defining solo pop performers of the early 90s, loved for her dance-heavy music videos. At 63 in 2025, she mostly works as a choreographer and mentor while performing occasionally. Norah Jonas' smooth jazz pop sound made her a breakout solo artist, winning multiple Grammys in the early 2000s. At 46 in 2025, she continues to record music occasionally but rarely participates in large-scale promotional tours. Nelly Furtado became a household name in the early 2000s with her distinct voice and genre-blending solo pop albums. At 47 in 2025, she focuses on motherhood and runs a music nonprofit for underserved youth. Natalie Merchant transitioned from 10,000 Maniacs to solo success with her thoughtful songwriting and distinct vocal style. At 61 in 2025, she records sporadically and spends her time supporting social causes and literacy programs. Natalie Imbruglia's effortless pop sensibility and iconic hits made her one of Australia's most beloved solo artists in the late 90s. At 50 in 2025, she writes for other artists and enjoys raising her son. Minnie Driver surprised many with her solo singer-songwriter debut, showcasing vulnerability and talent beyond her acting career. At 55 in 2025, she balances occasional acoustic shows with her commitments as a film and TV actress. Mindy McCready gained fame as a young solo country singer with a string of successful singles in the late 90s. At 50 in 2025, she lives quietly, working on writing projects and family life. Michelle Wright became a leading Canadian country pop soloist in the 90s, known for heartfelt songs and a warm presence. At 63 in 2025, she records less often but continues performing for devoted fans in Canada. Martha Wainwright emerged from a musical family to build a strong solo reputation with candid lyrics and folk rock melodies. At 49 in 2025, she focuses on raising her children and teaching music workshops internationally. Mark Cohn's heartfelt lyrics and piano-driven melodies made him a respected solo artist in the early 90s pop rock scene. At 66 in 2025, he performs small tours occasionally and mentors young singer-songwriters about longevity in the music business. Mandy Moore was one of the teen pop sensations of the late 90s, known for her sweet voice and upbeat singles. At 41 in 2025, she balances family life with acting and selective music releases. Lori Morgan's consistent country hits during the 90s made her a staple of the Nashville solo scene. At 65 in 2025, she performs occasionally and dedicates time to her grandchildren. Lisa Stansfield's soulful pop hits made her one of the UK's most successful solo artists in the early 90s. At 59 in 2025, she performs mostly in Europe and focuses on wellness projects and vocal coaching. Lila McCann became one of the youngest solo country artists to hit the charts in the late 90s. At 43 in 2025, she lives quietly in Nashville while writing music for other performers. Leona Ness's gentle pop folk sound and introspective lyrics earned her a loyal following as a solo artist in the early 2000s. At 50 in 2025, She raises her children while performing intimate shows for longtime supporters. Leona Lewis' powerful voice and chart-topping debut single made her an international solo star after winning the X Factor. At 40 in 2025, she focuses on animal rights campaigns and occasional live concerts worldwide. Lenka's whimsical indie pop tracks and sweet vocals gained her global recognition as a solo artist in the late 2000s. At 47 in 2025, she creates visual art and occasionally records songs for children's media. Norwegian singer Lena Marlin captured fans with introspective lyrics and soft melodies, establishing herself in the late 90s solo pop world. At 45 in 2025, she lives privately, releasing occasional music for streaming platforms only. Lauryn Hill became an instant icon with her solo debut, fusing hip-hop, R&B, and soul into powerful messages. At 50 in 2025, she performs rarely and spends most of her time raising her children. Lara Fabian's powerful vocals made her a celebrated pop ballad soloist, especially popular across Europe in the early 2000s. At 55 in 2025, she tours sparingly and focuses mainly on vocal coaching and charity concerts. KT Tunstall's catchy acoustic pop sound and live looping performances brought her global recognition in the early 2000s. At 50 in 2025, she plays selective concerts while focusing on charity projects supporting arts education. Jo Dee Messina became one of country music's leading solo women with multiple late 90s chart-topping singles. At 55 in 2025, she performs small acoustic sets and prioritizes time with her family in Tennessee. Jessica Simpson became one of the biggest teen solo stars of the late 90s with her powerhouse vocals and bubbly image. At 45 in 2025, she manages her successful fashion brand and releases occasional singles. Jennifer Love Hewitt had a modest solo music career alongside acting, appealing to fans with her soft pop ballads. At 46 in 2025, she focuses mostly on television roles and raising her children in Los Angeles. Jennifer Hansen's mix of country and pop helped her stand out as a soloist during the early 2000s. At 48 in 2025, she balances family life with writing music for television and streaming series. From breakout hits to global superstardom, these artists have left an undeniable mark on music. Time may have changed their appearance, but their legacy remains as powerful as ever. How many did you guess correctly? Share your score in the comments. Tell us who surprised you most, and be sure to like and subscribe for more Then versus Now, where music legends live forever.